Hello, everyone. I'm Reverend Richard Miner. I'm the Graduate Engagement Officer here at One Spirit Learning Alliance in New York City. And today I'm very pleased to be here with Reverend Leah Hudson. Leah, thank you for joining me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Leah, you are a graduate of the Interfaith Seminary class of 2012, and you're also a graduate of the ISC program of 2014. That is quite an interesting accomplishment. You've done a lot of work in a lot of other venues. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what brought you to ISC as a student?
I was transitioning from a life of business. I had a 30-year business career and really felt a very deep longing for something more in my life. And after a lot of meditating and discernment, what came to me is that I really just wanted to create a simple, sustainable life of service. And I did not know what that was going to look like. So once I finished seminary and graduated in 2012 when the world was supposed to end, I thought, well, it didn't. What am I going to do? So I actually really felt called to do the ISC then right after that, because it gave me a real good grounding in being in sacred community with individuals and groups. I still didn't know exactly what transitioning this life was going to look like, but the combination of One Spirit followed by ISC for me, coming from the business world and wanting to leave that behind and get into some really heartfelt, compassionate work with people, that's what the ISC brought to me, is to be able to create what that looked like for me.
Now, what inspired you to go from the seminary into ISC?
I felt like when I finished seminary, I knew enough to know that I wanted to continue being in relationship with individuals and groups. And while I had had a lot of business training and how to be with individuals and groups, if you're in a corporate world that has for-profit as the bottom line, that's completely different than being in relationship with someone that is searching to find what resonates with them as their highest and best, and how to be in that kind of relationship with someone. So that's what took me to ISC. Excuse me.
How did the 2 years in the interspiritual counseling program impact your life?
Well, it was extremely formational and foundational, actually. I have always been spiritually interested in going deeper, and didn't really know anything about interfaith until I found One Spirit. So naturally, the next step then was to, okay, now what am I going to do with this, and how is that going to translate into something that I can do and be able to have a sustainable living. And I will say that it's a process, and it has taken some time, predominantly because of my discovery and predominantly because of the changes that the world is going through right now. I mean, we're at a time where I think there's a deep longing by a lot of people to live a heart-centered life, and we don't know what that looks like. And so the ISC program kind of gave me a template to go through the paces there to see what that looked like and what that might look like for me.
How have you used your ISC training in your work?
It has helped me, as I mentioned earlier, it's helped me be in relationship with people in sacred communion and sacred community. The time that we spent in ISC on sacred ceremony has been very helpful. I work with people who suffer from PTSD. I do substance and alcohol abuse group work on the labyrinth. And so being able to create, I think being able to create sacred ceremony and being flexible from an interfaith perspective to be able to resonate with someone on what has deep sacred meaning to them and bring that into form through sacred ceremony was invaluable to me.
That sounds like that must have had a really, really powerful impact
It did.
on your ministry. So with all of the work that you're doing now, what is next for you?
What is next? We have created a project. It's called Living Resilience Project, and we have created programming that it spans a year-long program or a weekend retreat or a 5-day retreat based on the foundations of spiritual intelligence and the 5 pillars of post-traumatic growth, to combine those two things to provide a template for people to explore finding the gift in their life and finding the gift in what is their whole life, and being able to transform what you thought kept you broken into actually what is your greatest and highest gift to provide for others.
That sounds amazing. Now, we're also very excited because you're going to be teaching here at One Spirit in the coming year. You're going to be teaching a class with Carol Meyer on March 10th. It's going to be called Post-Traumatic Growth and Spiritual Intelligence in Treating PTSD. Is that a version of what you're working on?
It is. That particular version, we are in communication right now and working out the details to provide this as a service to wounded warriors through their OSIS program. And we're really excited about it. We hope what is spirit is physical, and what is physical is spiritual. And so being able to create a program that holds people enough to lean into their pain so that they can loosen their grip on the images and beliefs that keep them in trauma, and reframe it enough to find the gift and then activate what that gift means in their life. Particularly for the warriors, it's coming from a traumatic military situation back into civilian life. How do they do that? And how do they do that in a sacred way that combines their multidimensionality, physically, mentally, intellectually, spiritual, and energetically? So that's kind of what we do.
That sounds fascinating, Leah. And I'm going to be doing an interview with you in the very near future where we're going to go into an in-depth discussion about what your class is going to be, what the format is going to look like, and what the content is going to be. And I hope everybody will take a moment to watch that interview and see your class. Leah, thank you for taking time out of your clearly very busy schedule to speak to me. It's been a real pleasure. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing you at One Spirit when you're here teaching in March.
Well, I appreciate it. And I just have to say to those who are trying to find their way, like Diane says, follow that thread. It will let you know what it is. Sooner or later, it will come to you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.